everyone, I'm Zaji, and I'm here with my colleague Ksenia, and we'll be answering the question, can decentralized organizations exist? A little background on me, I've been working in blockchain since 2016, and I run partnerships for a company called Unstoppable Domains. We're building domains on the blockchain. A fun fact is that I've only ever worked in crypto, and I truly believe that it's a gateway for financial independence for underrepresented communities.
And I'm Ksenia Lifanova. I'm co-founder, partner, and software engineer at Upstate Interactive. We are a tech consultancy that build custom web and mobile applications, as well as decentralized applications on the Ethereum blockchain. In 2017, I led our company's expansion into the blockchain industry, and I haven't looked back since.
Can decentralized organizations exist? We believe they can through a relatively new business structure called Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. We'll go ahead and call them DAOs moving forward. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine joining an organization built upon a set of rules, pre-programmed and integrated on a public blockchain such as Ethereum. More on that later. All you need to know is that these rules are automatically applied by software when the conditions are met. This differs from traditional companies in which rules form guidelines that employees have to interpret. In this case, it's all done through software. So let's go ahead and build a DAO ourselves, just to try it out. We'll call it the South by Southwest Animal Lovers DAO. And our goal is to raise funds to help animals in need at local animal shelters. There's a pre-programmed set of rules, and we'll start with $100 to join the organization. Once you join, that $100 gives you one share, and that share is one vote. This creates an equal voting power. And anytime you want to make decisions, you vote as a DAO to execute those decisions. Perhaps you raised $2,000 and you want to donate that to a local animal shelter. All you would do is have one member submit a proposal, and then everyone uses their shares to vote and approve that proposal. And since you all have $100 in this DAO and you all care about animals, it can be assumed that you all have similar values and goals. This helps create a trust-based solution within what we like to think of as a trustless society that we live in. It's fully autonomous. There's no need to trust. You don't even have to meet all the other members. As long as you all have one share and one vote, you can create a consensus and move forward towards the vision that you're trying to create. Now, I know this is a utopian view of DAOs, and it's not always this perfect, but Ksenia and I are here as living proof of people that are involved in DAOs that have been successful, and we're excited to share more of that with you.
Before we get into DAOs, let's take a step back and talk about Bitcoin. At this point, almost everyone has heard of Bitcoin. It's the native cryptocurrency built into the Bitcoin blockchain network created by an individual named Satoshi Nakamoto that was released in 2009. Now, I know you might be wondering how Bitcoin and DAOs relate. Well, both are made possible by blockchain technology, which is the backbone of this new decentralized world that we're talking about. Blockchain is what allows people to send cryptocurrency to each other in a peer-to-peer fashion without needing a central bank or institution. And it's also what powers DAOs, which are built using smart contracts and deployed on the Ethereum blockchain. To get into all of the details of how blockchain technology works is a whole other presentation, so we'll try to keep it high level here. Blockchain technology is a distributed ledger technology that allows data to be stored globally on thousands of computers while letting anyone on the network see everyone else's entries in near real time. You can think of it as a Google Sheet that's public and open to everyone, meaning you can purchase a computer and download the sheet to see all of the transactions and balances that have ever happened. If a transaction is made, for example, if I send Zaji one of my Bitcoin, our account balances are updated and everyone with the sheet automatically gets the update. A block in blockchain is just a batch of transactions. So let's say we have a copy of this Google Sheet and I want to send one of my Bitcoin to Zaji. One of the computers that's hooked up to this blockchain network, the Lucky computer, processes that transaction plus a whole bunch of others to create a new block and add it to the blockchain. They do this by solving a cryptographic math problem and are incentivized by earning Bitcoin if they process all of the transactions correctly. All of the blocks are connected and contain a hash of the previous block's transactions. This makes the blockchain very secure and immutable. Immutable meaning it's impossible to rewrite history. Once the information is on the blockchain, there's no going back to change it. If a nefarious computer wanted to go back in time and change my transaction of sending 1 Bitcoin to Zaji to instead send that 1 Bitcoin to John, for example, he would need to update all of the transactions that happened after that transaction, and all of the other computers in the network would need to accept that change. This is practically impossible to coordinate and just highly unlikely since there's a reward to process the transactions correctly. Now, the Bitcoin blockchain was the first blockchain deployed in 2009. Since that time, there have been many other blockchains created for a multitude of purposes. Again, the Bitcoin blockchain deals strictly with cryptocurrency, so peer-to-peer money transfers without needing a centralized bank. Then in 2015, we saw the rise of Ethereum. Ethereum is arguably the second most important blockchain that's used today. It adds another layer onto the blockchain technology, a programming layer. Ethereum allows developers to build applications and deploy them on the Ethereum blockchain. So now we can do more than send cryptocurrency. We can build logic into these systems. And the way we do that is by building smart contracts. Smart contracts are self-enforcing agreements written in code. The code contains a predefined set of rules that parties who are interacting with that smart contract must abide by. Their use cases range from simple to complex and can be found in various industries. Over the years, there have been many different types of applications built on Ethereum. We've had prediction markets, gaming, tokens, decentralized finance, which is very currently popular, and of course, our favorite DAOs. Simply put, DAOs are smart contract applications with processes and rules sets built into them with code that allow participants to coordinate and work together.
So we'll go ahead and talk about what are DAOs. Let's start with the word decentralized. DAOs are built on a decentralized infrastructure. As Ksenia has shared, in most use cases that we're describing, that would be Ethereum. They're not tied to any one person, business, or nation state, and they're hierarchical by nature. They're based on mechanisms of cooperation without subordination, that cooperation being everyone having a vote to create decisions. There's also distributed governance systems involved so that every single person has a voice and proposals can be voted on as a group to then execute on visions as a DAO. Autonomous. You do actually need one person to deploy these DAOs, but once the DAO is deployed, that person gives up full control over the DAO, and the pre-programmed set of rules take over. And these rules cannot be stopped from the outside. So the only way to change any of the rules are to then, as we've been saying, submit a proposal and vote as a DAO to change any of those rules. There's also an automated and secure execution of actions that happen. So as soon as a vote is approved, the DAO then executes on it immediately. So for example, earlier we were saying that in our South by Southwest Animal Lovers DAO, we might want to send $2,000 to a local animal shelter. As soon as it's approved, the funds would be sent instantly. Organization. DAOs are a social group which bring people together to work towards a common purpose. So even though we've been talking a lot about the software and the blockchain and everything that makes these DAOs happen, you still need people to create DAOs and to really execute on whatever your mission is as a DAO. I like this quote by Vitalik Buterin, who's the co-founder of Ethereum. He says, an entity that lives on the internet and exists autonomously, but also heavily relies on hiring individuals to perform certain tasks that the automation itself cannot do. You can have as much tech as you want, but you still need people with the vision and the energy and the mission to create these DAOs and make something happen.
Now, when discussing DAOs, there are a couple important questions that come up. How do you get things done effectively and efficiently without a leader? And even bigger, what problem is a DAO solving? I think we can answer these questions by going over some of the advantages of DAOs. Now, imagine you work for the marketing department of a large organization. You have an idea on how to make the department run more efficiently. You submit a proposal for your idea, and your colleagues, including management, all vote. It's a good idea. So the vote is approved, the vote passes, and within a month, your idea is implemented. Sounds nice, but we all know this is not how the real world works. Problems in traditional organizations involve hierarchy and management. A top down structure can lead to inefficiency and decision making with the people at the top. The decentralized nature of a DAO gives unique opportunities to its members not afforded in traditional corporations. Because there is no management team, decisions come from the members of the DAO. They can submit and vote on proposals, as in my example. They can take part in discussions of how to steer the DAO that is not possible outside of traditional C-level boardrooms. Distributed work. As Saji mentioned, once a DAO is deployed and activated, the person who deployed it does not retain control. There's no CEO or management team to dictate who has to work on what. The work in the DAO is distributed among its members, and it's up to them to decide where they want to focus and how much time they want to put in. In an ideal DAO, every member does their part, so the majority of the work is not left to only a few. Transparency. Again, traditional organizations, the way decisions are made are often opaque and rarely shared with the employees. DAOs, because they live on a blockchain, are open source and transparent. All of the transactions of the organization are recorded and maintained by the blockchain network. Trust. In the real world, we need lawyers, real estate agents, escrow accounts, contract agreements, judicial systems in order to mitigate the risk of people working together that don't know each other. We need these outside entities to regulate our interactions. In DAOs, those rule sets are formalized through code. They provide a way for people and institutions that do not know each other or trust each other, that may live on opposite sides of the world and speak different languages, to coordinate and work together. The code provides trust in a trustless society. And finally, stake in the game. Most DAOs require a pledge or a buy-in to become a member. Just as in the South by Southwest Animal Lovers example, where everyone pledged $100 for one share. Therefore, there's an economic incentive to stay involved. If someone submits that proposal to send half of the DAO's reserves to a certain project, your $100 is at stake. This is a higher motivation for you to stay actively involved and participate in the decision-making of the DAO. Now, we can't talk about the advantages without mentioning some of the disadvantages of DAOs. Hacks. So you've heard us say that the rule sets of DAOs are enforced by code. And who writes code? Humans. And as humans, we make mistakes. In 2016, the infamous DAO referred to as the DAO was hacked and lost 1/3 of its reserves. The hack was due to an error in a line of code. The developer community has learned a lot from that hack and continues to grow and learn and really focus on security in the space, but this is a risk that DAOs face. Lack of participation for members. Although the decentralized and distributed nature of DAOs can be seen as an advantage, it can also be seen as a disadvantage. Even though there isn't a defined management team or CEO, as humans, we gravitate towards hierarchy. Regulation. Regulation is a big question for most of the blockchain industry. Although blockchain networks cannot be stopped or turned off because they're not technically owned by anyone, regulation can be put in place to make coordination more difficult. So far, DAOs have been too small for regulators to notice, but as the space evolves and grows, regulation is something that could slow or prohibit the efficiency that DAOs mean to improve.
So, real world DAOs. Do these actually exist? Do these organizations function? So, yes, they do. We actually have three main use cases we'll discuss today, and there's actually thousands of DAOs out there with other use cases as well. But the main ones we'll go over are grants, governance, and business. Grants. There are DAOs that raise funds for certain types of initiatives and then create grants and distribute those based off of their missions. Ksenia and I are both a part of a DAO called Meta Gamma Delta, and we raise funds for women-led initiatives and then create grants and distribute those out to women that are building amazing projects in the space. Governance. So there's DAOs that have tokens and govern certain protocols they've built. Then they're mostly responsible for maintaining the protocols through proposals to improve the DAOs. One example is MakerDAO. They have a community of Maker token holders that govern the Maker protocol. And that protocol is a series of smart contracts that power DAI, which is a stablecoin that the organization has created. A lot to unpack there, but what I'm really trying to say is that it's a community of people governing a specific protocol. And then finally, businesses. So there are DAOs that operate as businesses and members act as contractors and they provide a service. So one example is Raid Guild. This is a DAO that you can actually go and contract some of their members to do work for any sort of Ethereum or blockchain-based projects. These members do get paid, and in general, business DAOs are a great option for anybody looking to create a DAO for their actual day-to-day job. So DAOs can operate and do a lot of different things. It just depends on what you want your DAO to do.
Why does any of this matter and why should you care? Think back to our South by Southwest Animal Lovers DAO. And now think about something else that you're passionate about. Maybe you care deeply about improving your local community, or maybe you want to pool funds for investment purposes, or maybe you want to send kids to college in Ghana. DAOs provide a framework for you to join others who share similar passions. With the press of a button, you can create a DAO and start working on things that matter to you. DAOs give us the power to influence and improve our society without having to trust a centralized management team. All of the money that's raised, proposals submitted, actions of DAO members are public on the blockchain. There's no chance that a DAO is skimming 25 cents off of every dollar donated to pay for bonuses, at least without everyone seeing. Thousands of DAOs have been deployed with tens of thousands of members involved. Collectively, these DAOs have raised over $800 million. Imagine a future where you can be part of digital communities that you care about. Imagine being part of an organization where your voice actually matters and you can actually make a difference. DAOs are still in the early and nascent stages, and although we may stumble, we continue to evolve and grow. We encourage all of you to take part in this fun experiment of making the world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you.